Hey guys, welcome to No Tucks Allowed. Bigpod, what'd you do this time?
We got hacked.
Was it my fault or your fault this
My
time?
fault.
Your fault. It's fine. It's fine. If you're a security professional, you can guess on how we did it. We'll explain it to you after the music. Well, it was a bit of a disastrous intro because, Bigpod decided he was going to get hacked. But hey, guys, welcome back to No Tucks Allowed. I'm your host, Josh, and today I am joined by elite hacker defense force, Bigpod.
Hi.
Yeah, so just to let you know, we're secretly a security podcast.
Yes.
We talk about this every now and then because, Big Pod knows a thing or two, and I can only guess. But uh, something exciting happened because, we've been trying to, come up like this with this way that we can have, this synchronified notes.
Yes.
That,
Internal
that way,
tooling,
when I
essentially.
make changes to our show notes, Big Pod can see it
Yes.
at the same time rather than using Git for this because apparently Git is not the solution that we were looking for. But hey, you know what? It's fine. So Big Pod, let's talk about this from the top, what we were trying to accomplish, how we got it set up, where we went wrong, and how we're fixing it.
So, it all started with the fact that I wanted to deploy this thing called HedgeDoc, which is Markdown in browser. You can edit and display in browser for collaborative editing.
Yeah, I've heard about HedgeDoc a few times.
Many of you may know it as HackMD, which is available for as a service you can use. It's basically a self-hosted version of HackMD. I think it's called HackMD. I could be wrong. Well, all started okay. I deployed it on the server. All went okay. But it needed a database, so I deployed Postgres, and because I was doing things the wrong way, or at least the wrong way for the setup we're using, I opened ports, and because of the amazing things that is NF tables and all that crap, that port got, for some reason, let out to the internet, which it shouldn't have, but amazing that it is NF tables. And well, somebody found that port and somehow guessed the password we were using.
Oops.
Yeah, and they accessed my best guess is they accessed the actual service and the Postgres service and deleted the database and put their own database in place that said that to pay them ransom essentially for to get data back. At which point the data they got is two random passwords and both of our podcast emails. So not that much was stolen. It could have been worse if they actually got into the container itself, not into the service. We could have a lot of problems. Why?
Yeah, we could have lots of problems.
Because they could easily traverse to MySQL. They could easily traverse to Castopod, but none of those seem to be traversed. So I'm keeping an
That
eye
said,
on.
we are going to be going through a full security audit.
Yeah.
Audit on that after we
key
record the
rotation,
episode.
everything like that. I'll be preparing a checklist that I'll be going through. Its key rotations, changing images, repulling them, all that sort. So there might, if you were trying to listen to us yesterday, from the day of upload, you might notice that Castopod was down for a bit. That's what it was. I was doing the security things. So now we're thinking of bettering our security, and first step to that was enabling on our cloud provider external firewall. So only ports that we want actually are open to internet. So that's ATN 443.
Well, also SSH, but I'm not going to tell you what port that is.
But at this point, I already planning to secure SSH by putting it inside an encrypted overlay network, kind of like VPN, which is what VPN is, an encrypted overlay network. But we probably won't be using VPN for this. We'll be using some other solution that I'm still trying to get working. So we do not have any kind of access that isn't approved to the servers, which is ATM 443. And I'm very happy, and at this point I'm also kinda still trying to get Josh to switch cloud providers to something that takes security by default, unlike this cloud provider. We're not gonna go into detail who it is, but let's just say, and that if we switch cloud providers, I'm gonna share more details. But at this point, we're still on this cloud provider, so I'm not sharing more than I have to. And there will be many security things that we will be implementing in the upcoming weeks. So we might talk about some of them, but probably not all of them, as well they are security, and why share things that shouldn't be shared. Josh, thoughts?
Well, I think that taking security a little bit more seriously is actually worthwhile. That said, I like my cloud provider. I've been using them for a very long time now. Yeah, I just forgot to turn on a button.
Well,
Which,
sure. But
looking into this, by the way, when my account was created, it was created before they had a firewall option, and because my account was created before, they decided that on brand new accounts. So if, say, you were to make an account for them today, that firewall would actually be turned on by default.
Oh, great.
It's just that I got grandfathered.
I really hate those ideas.
But at the same time, we've got a lot to look into this, and of course, when we get like this thing set up, we'll at least talk about like how Bigpod and I are working to develop the podcast. Yeah. Obviously, we're not going to tell you exactly how we're keeping it secure. Although we might mention like some of the products we are making to increase the security, because they're wonderful companies that we're working with, and I don't want to like ruin any potential sponsorships with them, because I like them.
Yeah. So
anyways,
and again, if you have any server companies that would be willing to work with us to get us physical servers, we wouldn't be opposed to those. I think we would be okay finding a co-location or two if we get physical servers and routers and firewalls and all that. So,
well, hang on a second here, because we'll talk about our wild idea here coming up later in the episode when we talk about the Patreon segment. Yeah, but we're not there yet.
So let's get into
Bigpod,
actual topics, shall we?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of news.
Yeah.
A little bit of news, the news cycle was actually kind to us and dropped us an update on the court case that the EU is currently having with both Apple and
Meta
and Facebook.
And separately, there are also things about to drop with Google or Alphabet and so on. So EU strikes again, we should say, and it will strike again and again and again.
Yeah, even though the president of my wonderful nation is saying that the EU is designed to screw over my nation, so
it's currently doing a good job of that, we can say.
It's doing a very good job of that, because the EU passed some laws and they expect companies to follow their laws, and the EU is not happy about what these companies are doing.
Yep.
So realistically, this is a case where Apple initially got fined, as well as Meta initially got fined. They went to appeal it.
Of course.
And the appeal failed. That's basically all what this article says.
Yeah. Just to recap, this is based on EU's Digital Markets Act, where Apple got fined €500 million, which is about, for you Americans, $570 million, and Meta got fined about €200 million. Yes, the difference is quite stark between euro and dollar these days, I have to say. And for what reason did they get these punishments for?
Well, just scrolling down here, the main reason why Apple got fined is that Apple was restricting how app developers could monetize. They had
Yeah.
to go through Apple's payment service rather than steering them outside of Apple's payment service. Like, say if I'm Netflix and I want my Netflix app on iOS devices, I I already have a payment portal on my Netflix.com website. Why do I have to? Why don't I just steer customers through there? That way, I don't have to pay the Apple fine, which I believe starts at 30%.
Yeah, Apple is 30%. They take 30% cut, similar as Google takes about the same. And what's even more interesting is that the Reuters, which is our source for this, notes that it is very likely that these fines are quite modest compared to what normal EU penalties are, which could
is true.
Which could be a bit of showcase of that they're trying to play a bit of ball with US government, but they're still not going completely. We will let you go. They still wanna hit because you are breaking our rules. And similarly, as we said, Google is also facing potential fines. So is X, previously called Twitter.
Yeah, now the reason why Facebook got fined is because, well, think about it for a second here. Meta, the company that owns Facebook, also owns WhatsApp as well as Instagram.
Yeah.
Now, here in America, WhatsApp is not super popular. But that doesn't mean that it's not super popular everywhere else. So, I personally never used WhatsApp. I don't know if you've ever had to use WhatsApp before, Bigpod, but I know that's really big in Asia. I don't know how big it is in the EU.
WhatsApp is fairly big. Not the biggest, but as far as I know, quite a few people use it.
Yeah, which... now, the reason why I'm mentioning these services is because they're fairly widely used in general.
Yeah.
And Meta institutes what's referred to as a pay or consent model.
Yeah.
Which is basically give them money so they don't give you targeted ads.
Yeah. Well, and on the other hand, Meta also owns Facebook Messenger, which is quite heavily used, and a couple other services. But yes, the pay or consent system has been very front and center as far as I saw. Actually, I'm more in favor of pay or consent system than just we don't care.
Consent or don't use.
Implicit consent. What normally happens. Implicit consent.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm also more in favor of things like YouTube Premium, where it's pay or get ads. End of story.
Well, you also get like benefits other than just lack of ads. Although that's the main reason why people sign up for premium.
Yes, you get you get disablement of artificial limitations. You get YouTube Premium, YouTube Music, all things I use and love. So those €8 I pay are completely great. That's one of the few things I
also,
pay.
If you're a content creator on YouTube, you also get paid a different tier of viewership numbers.
Much better.
Yeah,
payout.
Which is
Exactly.
something that we've seen when like these larger YouTubers actually go and show explain like how their finances work, and then they have like that YouTube Premium in a separate tier.
Yeah.
And I think even like Linus Tech Tips, which is like the biggest tech channel on YouTube, came out and said that it's surprising how much YouTube Premium pays, especially for like the
Yeah.
longer videos that they
Basically,
post. Like
longer the video, it used to be that longer the video, much bigger the payout from YouTube Premium was.
yeah, which hey, uh, that's pretty cool.
Both Apple and Meta criticized the decision, with Apple stating today's announcements are yet another example of European Commission unfairly targeting Apple in a series of decisions that are bad for privacy and security of our users, bad for products, and force us to give away our technology for free. Which I will highly, highly, highly disagree with. It doesn't.
At the same time, it's also a very politically charged
Yes,
statement that they
but
just
if
put
you
out.
remove the political part of it, it's all about the whole idea of the fact that it is walled garden is privacy and security first, which it isn't actually true, because privacy, as far as we know, they are collecting data, except they're only ones who can collect data. And security wise, why do you think it is, why do they think like, and this is not just this decision might be slightly more about privacy and security than, let's say, previous decisions like app store markets and installing things from unknown sources uh, side loading, where there is nothing about security and privacy. It is really in question, because you may have low, you actually get better security and privacy by allowing other people to give you to give packages, because they can do whatever they want and they control the system. Now other people can control it, including yourself.
Yeah, there is credibility in the idea of security through obscurity.
Yes.
Uh, that said, if that is like your security goal, you also still need to practice like other
Yes.
things security wise. But by defederating the payment platforms, well, now it's not just one database of consumers that's
Yeah.
controlled by Apple. Now you've got the Apple payment services, you've got the Netflix payment services, you've got the Amazon payment services. You've got multiple.
And users have the freedom to choose, or shall we say, right to choose.
Yeah, the only thing that's more annoying is you're putting in more credit card numbers. But to be fair,
Yes.
people in America still shop on Amazon. They still sign up for Netflix, so maybe Netflix already has the data anyway.
Yeah. And on other hand, Meta criticized the decision by saying the European Commission is attempting to handicap successful European businesses while allowing Chinese and European companies to operate under different standards. This was said by Chief Global Affairs Officer Joel Kaplan in an email statement. And this is very, very, very politically charged. They also said this isn't just about a fine. The commission forcing us to change our business model effectively imposes a multi-billion-dollar tariff on Meta while requiring us to offer an inferior service. Sorry,
just go back to
had
the old
to laugh.
model.
Yes, go back to your
Just
old
go back
model,
to the old model. It was fine.
or go to the model YouTube is using, or I don't know. Stop with offering targeted ads, because clearly people don't like them. Or better yet, follow laws or go away. That's also an option, but it's not a good option for them. So
I mean,
yeah,
it's a lot of money that they'd be giving up there.
yeah, especially Apple.
Yeah. That said, they just need to actually, comply instead of just try to just barely skirt the law.
Yeah.
Just why can't they just comply to the intent of the law and just be done with it? They'll still make money.
Yeah, it's also noting that Meta is in talks with EU to get a system that will be DMA compliant.
Yeah. So, let's go and move on from that. So, moving on from the last topic here, let's talk about something that Bigpod and I kind of had a disagreement about when we got talking about this.
Yeah.
Philip Lane is a software developer. I don't know where he's from, but he was responsible for maintaining a few Kubernetes clusters, and he's just like, I think that there's a way we can better avoid scalability issues with Kubernetes.
Yeah.
And he went up and, him being a software developer, he did the thing that software developers do. He wrote
something.
a solution for it. And so he came out with this tool called Spiegel, or Spiegel.
Just for information, he's German.
Oh, he's German.
So
okay.
It's probably Spiegel.
Okay. I kind of figured it was Spiegel. I just wanted to say them both just to be sure. So, anyways, it turns out that this was actually a very good idea, as it caught the interest of quite a few people in the Kubernetes area. Up to the point where
what his software did, before we actually go on. So
oh yeah,
one of the things you need for Kubernetes is you need container images. So those are the blobs that contain all the files, and they are stored in container registries, stuff like Docker Hub, GHCR, and they had things in GHCR which during one of the busiest periods went down, so it was not available. And since Kubernetes normally pulls image down to run it each time, all it did was it failed and they couldn't scale, which is a problem. So what he created was a tool that took all the nodes in the cluster and turned them into essentially distributed cache for all the images you're running, and that's actually a pretty interesting and good idea.
So it's basically just like setting up like a Squid proxy server in front of your entire Kubernetes cluster, but instead of having like a predefined cache, it just uses everything that's already there.
Yes, essentially, as far as I understand, that's what it is doing. And the big problem was for him that he was a sole maintainer, but some people reached out, but chief among them, and people who are in question right here, is Microsoft. They reached out for a meeting to talk about Spiegel, and the meeting apparently went well, but his feelings when he came out of the meeting were that there is going to be a good path forward, full of cooperation and hopefully getting some new maintainers into the mix. And
yes,
he also did continue with talking with Microsoft engineers, helped them get Spiegel running, answering all the questions. You do like you do when you're talking with someone like Microsoft, hoping to get them on board. You don't got to tell them things, of course. But over time, things didn't go so well.
Yeah, so when he went to KubeCon in Paris, he attended a talk that piqued his interest. It was talking about strategies to speed up image distribution, where one strategy was discussing peer-to-peer sharing. The topics in the abstract sounded very similar to Spiegel. So he went to this talk, and during the talk, he was starting to see Spiegel be discussed. And then they started talking about another tool called PureD, which was made by Microsoft. So he went through it because this is a competitor Spiegel. Of course, he's going to take some time and look at his competition, see what he has to go against. And he saw in README a thank you citing him and Spiegel, which is cool. They took some inspiration. That's cool. And this is collaboration because this is just friendly competition so far, right?
Yeah, and
so he gets
always good
looking
to
through
look at
it.
those stuff because you can learn something from it, especially since it's Microsoft. It's done in MIT, and that's not a Microsoft license. It's MIT license. The very well known. You can do whatever you want. I have no fault here. License.
Yeah, that said, this is probably the second best option compared to Microsoft directly contributing.
Yeah.
That's what it is at the end of the day, but it's still very good. So, anyways, he gets looking through like the source code, and he ran into something he wasn't expecting to see. Something that looked eerily familiar.
Well, it looks like a fork.
Oh boy.
Essentially. And there apparently are test cases, things like that reference Spiegel. And I'm gonna defend Microsoft a bit. If you're trying to get the same interface and same end result, it might actually be a stupid idea to pull tests from, let's say, Spiegel or any other competitor, because if you can have those tests and you can test against those tests, you are going to, they make the same tool. It's literally what's called test-driven design.
Yeah. And an issue that I come up with here is that Philip Lane is a solo developer, right?
Yeah.
He gets talking with these Microsoft developers at this conference. They like the idea of Spiegel. He helps them get it spun up and show them basically what it does. And he has all the intention in the world that he's just going to be dealing with good guy Microsoft.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft then comes out with their own tool called PureD, and say you're in the middle of the night, you just got done eating dinner with the family, and you're just like, I'm going to come down and I'm going to look into this and just see what improvements I can make tomorrow on Spiegel. Gets looking through it, and he starts seeing his own comments, his own code, his own test cases.
Yeah, it's a fork, and
yeah. Now,
Go ahead, Josh. I think I know what you're gonna say, and I think I know what I'm gonna say afterwards already.
Yeah, so let me talk about it from my perspective, right? Now, first of all, I'm not a software developer. I'm just gonna make this clear right ahead. Instead, what I'm talking about this is from the same perspective that an artist would have for their art. That's how I see this. So, when we're talking about this. And if you read Philip's post, he references that maybe the MIT license was not the best license for Spiegel to begin with. Maybe he could have looked at the GPL, because what he's seeing here is that at this point it's PureD has more of a bit of a negative impact because PureD is developed by Microsoft, which is a much bigger name than Philip Lane. Which, to be fair, you, the listener, probably didn't know who Philip Lane was to begin with.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, how many people read the credits and acknowledgments in a README? Probably not that many. So, when Bigpod and I got talking about this, I said, this is probably why you should look at the GPL and copyleft licenses, and why corporations should contribute more often, and why I think that this could potentially be a hostile fork.
And I disagreed. Quite hard. So, first off, we should talk about the whole idea of copyright and all that. And we're not gonna go into it heavily because we're not lawyers. But as a side, I hate the term copyleft because, in my opinion, it's a mock of the the fact that copyright is about rights, not about a direction. But just that aside, let's be real. So, Spiegel was licensed under MIT, a very extremely permissive, extremely free license. I'm using that word very, very specifically here. What it gives the rights to others is basically you can do whatever you want with that code, which is extremely freedom respecting. But it also means that anybody can take your code, rename it, as long as they leave the license notice in there, they can do whatever they want with your code, including make it into a product and publish it. Which I don't see a problem with that at all. You allowed that. And at the same time, people talk about maybe GPL should be used. Well, I think that GPL isn't actually a shouldn't be considered a free license, because the
Well,
point of free is supposed to be freedom, yet it takes freedom away from certain types of people, certain
I mean, it
types of
takes freedom away
users.
from like the developers.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that to me is not free as in freedom. It's free as in users' freedom. And then again, there is also other potentials I do not really want to go into because they're only hypotheticals on my part. But GPL, in my opinion, is not a good license to ever use, and I would recommend you do not use it, at least based on my opinion. It's not an opinion based on knowledge of law. It's opinion based on my feelings. So whatever you choose,
Yeah.
you better talk with a lawyer who understands copyright as a thing, and they can explain things to you.
Yeah. That said, the only thing that Microsoft could have done worse is put purity behind some kind of a paywall,
Yes.
which then it would just be a hostile fork or even malicious at that
Not,
point.
I still don't think so because any was remember, one of the tenets of open source and free software is you don't like it, you can fork it. That's the point. At the end of the day, that's the point. If you do not, if you want a different direction, if you want to develop it on your own, you can fork it and nobody can say shit to you. That's kind of the point. That, at least that's one of the points open source people keep bringing up. So I don't think that's a problem. I think the only problem, at least in my opinion, the only problem here is the fact that Microsoft went in, whether explicitly or implicitly, with explicit or implicit thinking, at least on the part of Philip, that they will be contributing to Spiegel. It is nowhere stated directly whether they told him they wanna contribute, but based on his wording, I am thinking he just thought that because they were interested. He was thinking maybe they will be contributing to my software, which is the only thing I actually think is bad on part of Microsoft and could have been handled better.
Yeah. That said, that's really about like our discussion on that because at this point might want to talk with a lawyer. That said, I did take some of my own money, and I did hit the sponsorship button on GitHub for Philip Lane. So maybe just him discovering this doesn't have him shut down Spiegel, because it's great to have like these community projects
Yeah.
that we're still able to make use of ourselves. Like I don't use Kubernetes myself because I don't have much reason to when it's a single user setup. That said, Bigpod, I know that you use Kubernetes,
Yeah.
and after reading what Spiegel does, maybe you might want to play around with it in the future yourself. So maybe look at the Spiegel or the Purity and try them out yourself. That said, I do recommend that you try Spiegel. Try Philip Lane's work first.
Uh,
Just see how well it works for you.
on this point, I would like to continue on this topic with what kind of negative impacts does PRD bring to Spiegel? As Philip stated, is that there Microsoft has a large brand recognition, which means that PRD will have automatic uh, step in front of Spiegel, and I think that actually applies more than you would think, because, well, who knows Philip Lane? You do not know him, you do not know his reputation, anything at all. But you know Microsoft, you know that they have a reputation, that have something to lose, whether it be reputation, whether it be money, so they won't do crappy stuff with their things. At least not the kind of crappy stuff that could be problematic for your security and stuff like that, that would actually affect you, like, I don't know, exfiltrate your data or anything at all, which can be a big problem for companies more than individuals. So who are you going to choose? Somebody you know or somebody you don't know? I'm willing to bet
I
a
mean,
lot of them will choose PRD just because it's Microsoft, and that Microsoft has a reputation to lose from
that
security
said, there's also
perspective.
still that very strongly opinionated crowd that wants nothing to do with Microsoft whatsoever.
Yes, but
So thankfully, Spiegel's continuing.
a lot of people, those people aren't in server software, because people in server software just want to make things work, so that things work, so they can have a leisure while at work.
Yeah. So let's talk about like an update to our previous episode where we discussed Ubuntu,
Yeah,
because it turns out that Ubuntu is also broken, just like Fedora.
yeah. Apparently there are some
Actually, a
issues.
little bit more severely.
Apparently there are some issues with Ubuntu. Go ahead, Josh, and tell us about that.
Okay, so there are multiple issues across not just baseline Ubuntu, but as well as the flavors as well. That said, they didn't really tell us in the announcement of this issue what's going on with Ubuntu. But the big thing about Ubuntu is that usually you're able to just upgrade from like a previous release to the current release. So in this case, 2504 to 24.10 to 2504,
Yeah,
which uh, is a little bit apparently just doesn't work. It just says major issues with the installer, and that there is no solution to fix it right now other than actually just install it. But I saw a little bit more talk discussion from the Kubuntu side, where Kubuntu says, "Oh yeah, just install Qt6CT and then it should just upgrade fine." Which, hey, you can upgrade your Kubuntu, but you can't upgrade Ubuntu.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And then for another fire topic here, Bigpod, how long has it been since you used Yahoo for anything?
Never.
Well,
I am.
I used.
I I never used Yahoo actually. Like, by the time I started using internet actively, Google was already a big thing. Uh,
Well,
Microsoft
I
was
was making
better
use
at
of
everything,
the.
and so was Google.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it didn't make sense for me to ever use Yahoo. And before that, I was using Slovenian made products that were made for Slovenian markets because I didn't know English.
Yeah. So, for context of the record, Bigpod's in Slovenia. I'm in
Yeah.
America. I was using the internet before Google really made it big. Later, Google Search existed, and Google Search was awesome, but they kind of failed everywhere else. So Yahoo kind of existed back then. So a lot of people tend to just use Yahoo for like a lot of things, much like Google today. Like they used Yahoo for like the email as well as the search engine.
Yeah.
It was dial up, so you weren't really like watching Yahoo's video service. Not that they really offered one to begin with. Made sense because there just wasn't enough bandwidth. But anyways, the reason why we're talking about this is because the Google monopoly lawsuit that's going on here in America. The judge recommended that, well, the Department of Justice recommended to the judge require that Google sells Chrome. That way,
Yeah.
Google can no longer be a monopoly on internet browser market share.
So basically, the
And
investment of Google Chrome. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, so Yahoo kind of stepped in here and said, "Hey, we'd like to buy Chrome."
Yahoo is just one of few companies that wanna buy Chrome. Among those is also OpenAI. But
Yeah, that said, I think I would trust Yahoo a little bit more than OpenAI, but I don't know if Yahoo has enough market capital to buy Chrome.
apparently the price, apparently somewhere I read the price is 10 billion. At least that's how much Yahoo offered to Google. If they're gonna sell, that's how much they're offering for Chrome. At least that's a rumor, as far as I know. But more importantly, we need to talk about what it really means selling
Yeah.
Google Chrome. Does and
Now,
the big question is, does that mean selling Chromium project or not? Because that could change everything.
that could change a lot.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the landscape of browsers, you have Chrome, which is the dominating force, and then you have the open source version of Chrome, which is Chromium, which is Chrome without all the Google bits under an MIT license,
Yeah. And
which
then
then
you
is
have
forked by
Microsoft
all these.
Edge, you have
Yeah, which is
Vivaldi,
forked
you
from
have
Chromium.
Arc, you have
Yep.
many other pieces of software.
Yeah,
And
That said-
Electron uses Chromium engine under the
yeah.
cover and
It's
so on.
quite literally Chromium or Firefox.
Yes.
Well, I guess you could argue Ladybird too, but Ladybird's still very much in
Well,
development.
there is another one, Safari.
Well, Safari just uses WebKit, which is the origin of Chromium's Blink engine.
I think so, yes. But
Yeah,
they're
so-
far apart by now. And
Yeah, they're pretty far apart by now. But even then, who uses Safari on the Macs? Probably not a whole lot of people.
well, I hear
I know
qu-
that you
quite
still
a
use it
few.
for like the iDevices.
Yeah, but the more important part where to talk about is what happens if Chromium isn't part of the sale of Google Chrome. What should happen then? Because Google will probably need to divest that as well sooner or later afterwards. So
Well, I do think that they are setting up Chromium to be maintained by an independent foundation. So I have like the Chromium Foundation.
do you remember a couple of months ago we talked about Linux Foundation having a meeting between different companies under the group name or a project or a group named Supporters of Chromium? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I think that, and I told that before at the time. I think that is the preparation. That was the first preparation of divesting Chromium from Google, and to go under the banner of Linux Foundation, which I think would be just great.
Yeah, that said, if they sell Chrome, the browser, what happens with Google's Chrome OS?
Ooh, no, that's a question.
That
Yeah.
is a question because all of the local schools in America are basically using Chromebooks.
Nothing. My guess is nothing. Chromium.
It would have to be nothing.
The
But are they using Google's Chrome or are they using Yahoo's Chrome?
they are using Chrome, Google Chrome right now under hood. But
Yeah, they're
as
using
far
Google
as
Chrome
I
right
know,
now.
there is a version of Google Chrome. There is a build of Google Chrome called Chromium OS, which is built on, which is the open source version of it. I don't know how well it works because it's like, as far I know it as
I
like
have done like some
read
surface
on it.
level researching in figuring out how to build Chromium
Yeah,
OS so I can attempt to install it. I've never
same.
really
I
I've never
looked
really
at
been
it,
too successful in that.
and that's it. So my guess is they would basically go switch everything they need to switch to Chromium and sell it under some other name like Google OS or something like that. That would make most sense because well, it's a product built on that product. It's not actually, probably isn't part of the same set of features or set of sale documents, shall we say? And I think that would then probably be okay, and that would be interesting.
Yeah, that said, here's a fun fact for you, Bigpod.
Yeah.
Yahoo is not a standalone company. They're owned by another company. In this case being the Apollo Global Management, which guess what they also own?
What?
Netscape.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah, so that said, the Apollo group came out and when asked about this by The Verge, they came out and said Netscape is not really an active browser, so just let the dead browsers be dead.
Yeah. They're probably just holding the brand and that's it.
I mean, that's entirely possible. There's a reason why Firefox is called Firefox and not Netscape, after all.
Yeah. And
So,
remember,
anyways,
what could happen is they could then combine the brand of Chrome and Netscape and make Netscape Chrome if they really
they could
wanted. They could sell,
Chromescape.
yeah, or Chromescape or whatever they wanna call it. That then comes to that kind of complexities of business decisions. But yeah, I think if Google divests Chrome, a lot of things will change for the web because a lot of developers that work on Chrome also develop web standards and all that. But I think in the long term nothing will change since, in my opinion, Chromium will one way or another get into hands of something like Linux Foundation. If no other way, it will get forked. It's MIT, right?
I believe so.
So it might even get forked under the same name.
It might. That said, uh,
No,
if you would like
no.
to support,
Let me correct you. It's BSD 3 class.
which is an MIT alternative in basically the same
As
space.
far as I know, it is basically the same license. And if we look at, I'm gonna give GitHub a shout out. They have a nice breakdown of what you can't or cannot do with the license. It basically allows exactly the same thing as MIT, except nothing else because you do not get liability or warranty.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same thing, just broken down in 3 clauses instead of one big clause, like in the case of MIT.
Yeah. Anyways, if you would like to contact the show, give us feedback on like how we can better secure ourselves, or if you're a security consultant, maybe you actually want to try to sell your services to me. You can send us an email to contact@tuckspace.com. It's still a working email.
Yes.
If you would like to talk with each other, we do have a Discord. There's a link in the description. And in fact, we've had a couple guys hanging out in the voice channel a lot recently. Maybe they'll continue to do that, even though they're not in there right now. If you would like to help us fund the show, because Bigpod and I have a pretty stupid idea as as to what our future plans are, you can go to patreon.com/no-tuxallowed, and that way they can allow me to buy at least 3 more servers, to then pay like a local data center to hold those servers in their 3 spare 42U racks.
And in the longer term, allow us to pay another location in Europe with another set of servers. So we have continent level redundancy. Ooh.
Yeah, that said, I'll need to double check this price. But in order for us to just do that, we need like $9,000.
Yeah.
So that's long-term goal right there. Long-term goal.
Long-term goal.
we're not even breaking even on our current cost of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we're working on it. So just drop us a couple dollars on there. Every dollar matters at this point, because we got goals now.
Yeah.
That said, you can also, if you'd like to speak with us individually, we've got these wonderful links right here. These are for our Fediverse profiles, your Mastodons, your threads and services like that. You can just put those into the search bar and it should just pull straight up to our profiles. You can also just go to tuxbase.com and also just get like all the relevant links right there as well on our nice little wonderful front page. And we've got our own YouTube channels as well, but subscribe to this one as well if you're watching us on YouTube, because every subscription matters, because every subscription gets us closer to 1,000, which we need to monetize.
Yeah.
We've met all the other requirements.
Yeah.
And also, this is ultimately, at the end of the day, a podcast that's largely not fed through a distribution algorithm. So, if you like the show, recommend it to everybody that you can. That said, the only thing we're not allowed to talk about is Tux. We can talk about Linux all we want, just not Tux. And as a result, I'll see you guys another time.
Goodbye.